Hey, Augusta Onyx family. So we are back for another podcast, and we have a special guest in the building today. You know, I call this like a big building. It's about, just a few square feet, but we have Mr. Commissioner Jordan Johnson.
Thank you.
Everybody give it up. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, man. Thank you.
We love having you on here. We talked a little bit about, getting one of our local politicians on here because we like transparency. We like to know what's going on in the Augusta area, and I know you're going to be a big benefactor of that today.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Happy to be on.
Thank you. So just kind of start off with, what's the role of a commissioner?
So whenever I'm like at a school or something, I'm talking to students, I tell them that the commissioner's role is kind of like what you would compare to like the federal level, right?
Okay.
You have the executive branch of the government. That's where your mayor and your administrator and your department heads are.
Mm-hmm.
You have the judicial branch of the government, which is basically your court system. The legislative branch of the local government is the commission.
Okay.
So our job is to pass ordinances, is to pass policy for the city. We manage we oversee the day-to-day operations for the city of Augusta.
Gotcha.
And so that's from taking care of everyday things like cutting grass and filling potholes, or more large-scale issues like homelessness or housing or things that impact people from a social perspective. We deal with all of that.
Okay.
It's a lot of work.
I can believe it. And how long have you been doing it?
So I started in government. Well, I started in politics when I was probably like 19 or so. And I ran for the commission when I was 25 and was elected at 26.
Awesome.
So I've been on now for about 4 years. And I'm loving it. I was the youngest elected official in the history of the city.
Right. That's awesome. This guy actually went to school with my twin daughters, Leah and Jakia.
Yeah.
Big shout out there.
And Leah and Jakia, I showed them our picture from homecoming. So you'll hear about it when you get home.
I'm gonna get a copy of that picture too. All right. So if there were top 3 issues at the top of your plate as commissioner for Augusta, what are those top 3 things that you have on your agenda to take care of?
Well, I mean, from a district perspective, so my district is I look at it as a mosaic. There's so much in my district. You have one side that's affluent, that is wealthy, that is developed, a nice side of town. On the other side of my district, you have a lot of poverty. Sure. You have neighborhoods that need revitalization. You have blighted properties, those houses that have just kind of gone vacant for decades. That's in my district.
Right.
You have downtown, you have the riverfront, you have the hospitals. District 1 is huge. The airport is in this district. So I would think the top 3 issues that I've identified just by talking to people and just kind of being in the district is a need for affordable housing.
Okay.
The cost of housing is still just a little bit too expensive.
Right.
I'm proud that the city of Augusta just broke ground. I believe it was Wednesday. We broke ground.
I saw that. Yeah.
I don't remember what day it was. We broke ground Wednesday on about 60 plus units of affordable housing.
That's awesome.
Rent would start at $230, would go up until about $1,000. That's good.
That is amazing, especially in this day and time.
In 2024, you don't have those kind of numbers anymore.
Right.
On the bottom level of that complex, you have retail. So you're transforming communities. So that's a good start, but we still have so much more work to do.
Right.
Especially with homelessness and things like that being taken into consideration. I think a second issue that we have in our district is just this need for infrastructure renewal.
Okay.
Whenever you're driving around this community, you're going to run into a pothole. You're going to, have an issue with flooding in certain communities, and that's just wrong. I mean, in 2024, with the amount of federal money, state money, and just local money we've invested in infrastructure,
yes, sir,
we shouldn't have to dodge potholes, right? So we've invested $6 billion worth of infrastructure dollars into East Augusta to deal with decade-long flooding, 50-year flooding in one neighborhood.
That's right.
We've put millions of dollars into tearing down blighted properties. We've put millions of dollars into paving Wrightsboro Road. Finally. Right?
Thank you.
Finally.
Lady Walker too now. We got some more Lady Walker.
Lady Walker's got to go. We've got to get all these areas taken care of, but we're getting there.
Right.
And I think the last one, which is it's hard to narrow it down to 3, but if I had to say one more, I would say would be the underutilization of our riverfront.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Downtown Augusta is the heartbeat of the city, but we have a riverfront, something that any other city would kill to have.
Right.
And we haven't developed it. We have not taken as much advantage of this riverfront as we could have, I mean, since the late 90s.
Right.
So I think there needs to be some motion there. I presented the item to the commission to begin working on an entertainment district on the riverfront. Something like what you would see at the Battery in Atlanta or the Pomp
Yes,
in Savannah,
sir.
Florida, and places like that. Give folks something to do,
Yes,
you know?
Right.
So I think those are the
Absolutely.
top 3 issues that I've been trying to work through since running
Okay.
the commission.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
With all the other stuff, but
Right.
we can't get into it.
Now, where ground was broken at, where is that actually located at with the new development?
So that's on Laney Walker Boulevard.
Okay.
It's the site of the old Immaculate School, the Immaculate Conception School. And so basically that school was really the only school that African Americans could go to during the Civil Rights era and then post-Civil Rights era.
That's right.
Over a few years, the building went dilapidated, it went vacant, and unfortunately it had been torn down. But we have this property in which some call holy land, you know,
That's right.
holy ground, that we can now turn back over to people who, again, can't afford $1,400 in rent, can barely afford $700 in rent. You have an opportunity to create a diverse community with affordable housing on the corner of Laney Walker Boulevard, and I believe that's 11th Street, and then all of the other development that's happening in that Laney Walker community too. I think it's a model.
Right. That really looking forward to that. What's your assessment of our mayor since he's been elected to office?
So I've had the pleasure of working with Mayor Johnson since he took office in January 2023.
Okay.
I think that he has a good understanding of what's needed in Augusta. I think one of the issues that we're always going to have in this city where the mayor and the commission is concerned is that when our city was consolidated in 1996,
Right.
the charter was created to have 5 black commissioners and 5 white commissioners. Like
It was literally like
literally.
that was like put on blueprint
Literally.
paper. Like
Yes. Literally.
interesting.
And the way that it was done was the black districts were in the black neighborhoods.
Right.
The white districts were in the white neighborhoods. And so literally our government was formed on the black side of town and the white side of town. But if you want to take it a little step further here, in 1996 we consolidated because years prior to that we had a mayor with unchecked power. We had a mayor who could write the checks, who could do the wheeling and dealing. He was in control.
Right.
The city council was there to sort of affirm what the mayor does. Well, this mayor, because he had unchecked power, was able to bankrupt this city government. And when he bankrupted the city, he broke law by using a fund to pay off the debt that wasn't supposed to be used.
Wow.
He never paid for that,
And we had this going on in Augusta.
which is why the city of Augusta had to consolidate with the county of Richmond County.
Right.
The county had a surplus, the city did not. The county had checks and balances, the city did not. And so, you know, on May 21st, there's an item on the ballot asking the citizens, should the mayor receive a vote on the county commission? I'm not voting in support of that, of giving the mayor a vote. It is not because of anything about this mayor, because I don't think that he's a bad mayor. I think that, I think universally, from a holistic standpoint, I think he loves Augusta. I think we all love Augusta.
Absolutely.
But where checks and balances are concerned,
Right.
you don't put the president in Congress.
That's right.
You don't give the president a vote in the Senate. That's not how that works.
Right.
Checks and balances are important. When this resolution was formed, it was formed outside of city policy. It literally broke city policy
Oh wow.
and left 5 black commissioners out of the equation altogether.
Right.
Left the black representatives, left the black senators out of the question. So to answer your question, I have found pleasure in working with all of my colleagues.
Good.
But I think that it is important for people to understand that the form of this government is being proposed to change. The community has not weighed in on it. Your representation has not weighed in on it. And ultimately what this would do, if it passed, it would eliminate your checks and balances in this government.
I believe it.
If you did not need half of your colleagues to break city policy to get this on the ballot, imagine what you would do if you had the power, basically. That is unchecked power.
That's right.
And we should never, whether it is this mayor, another mayor, Mayor Mickey Mouse, whoever, we should not give that type of authority to one person.
Do you think that sometimes that holds the mayor back from making some of the changes that he sees and, or he or she sees that holds that capacity? You think that sometimes maybe stifle things, or you think this way, by all means, make sure that we keep things just checked and balanced? If it does stop the mayor from doing a certain project, then it was for the best overall.
No, I don't think that it stifles anything. I think what happens is, this is what I say. Right now, they're going around saying, well, if the mayor had a vote, we can cut the grass. What?
Right.
Let's not insult people's intelligence, right? The grass is not being cut efficiently in Augusta because one company is responsible for 3,000 vacant lots and right-of-ways. So if you had 3,000 properties to cut on a regular basis, you couldn't keep up either.
No, of course not.
But, that one company is connected, right?
Right.
It has nothing to do with a mayor having a vote or not.
Okay.
They say, well, if we have a vote, if the mayor had a vote, we can get something on the Riverwalk. That's not the case either, because we're already at the table now building something for the Riverwalk.
Okay.
And it did not take a vote from a mayor to get that done. What it takes is commissioners and the mayor presenting ideas. And what you've seen, and I'm going to put both hands on the table and say this, and if it causes problems, oh well, right?
Yes, sir.
This is what I believe. We have spent the last 10 years trying to catch this community up because of what did not happen 20 years prior
I can believe that.
to African Americans taking the majority on the county commission.
Yep.
Remember I told you that East Augusta had been flooding for 50 years.
Absolutely.
Let's put that
Especially at the bottom. Yeah.
Let's put that into perspective. For 50 years, 50 years since its inception, that neighborhood did not have adequate draining. It did not have adequate drains.
Wow.
When it flooded in 1990, in 1992, 1993, folks were riding around East Augusta in boats. Like literally.
I remember that. Yep.
50 years.
Yep.
We got in office, allocated $6 million in this round, have another $8 million in another round, $4 million in another round, trying to catch that neighborhood up.
Right.
So if you're trying to play catch up on certain items, of course it's going to take a little while to get things going, but to be so disingenuous and say that an additional vote can speed things up is just not true.
Right.
So I think that the key here is having elected officials who understand the needs in their communities and can go back to the commission and deal with that. But unfortunately, what we have are commissioners more concerned with the day-to-day operations and not the bird's eye view, which is basically growing your city. If you're the, if you're the board chair of a Fortune 500 company, you're not thinking about who's not taking the garbage out in the main lobby.
Right.
You're thinking about the strategic growth, and that hasn't happened over the last few years. But we have to get young people involved in this process so that that can happen.
Okay.
Don't let me ramble and talk.
No, you're fine.
I just want to make sure that I'm properly communicating here that an extra vote won't speed anything up.
Right.
It just won't.
Gotcha.
It would just add another commissioner, actually.
I understand.
So,
Understood.
I get a little passionate about that because we have to vote on these things.
Right. And when you said, you really segue into the next question. How do we get young people involved? How do we get them enthused again? And I just shouldn't maybe, label it young people, because we have people in my generation. I'm Generation X. My wife is a millennial. I think you are millennial as well. Mm-hmm. How do we get, everybody back enthused about voting? Because it seems like what we saw over, and I may be kind of mixing this a little bit with the, federal government and local government, but everybody has seemed to be fatigued with voting because we don't see the changes, and we get this go vote, and then now food prices are back up, or we're not seeing adequate transportation in Augusta. So how do we kind of get people to just get enthused again?
It's about who you elect.
Okay.
So it's a few things. I think the first thing is we can never allow ourselves to get tired of believing in this process.
Okay.
We have to always believe in it. We have to know that, there are forces that work against us. There's forces that work against progress. But that's in any case. That's in any situation. Whether you're at work, you're at home, there will be forces. But we're going to put those forces to the side for a second because they're not important. The most important piece of this puzzle will always be the people. It will always be the people believing that they can reach out to their elected official,
Right.
or believing that they can run for office and win. And I also say this, if you are a mother, a single mother with, 2 children, 3 children, and you're working 2 jobs just to pay one bill,
Right.
if all this commissioner talks about is cutting grass, typically, in most cases, you're not going to pay attention to that.
Right.
That's not what you need at this moment. You don't care about the grass on the right of way.
Right.
You care about figuring out how to feed your family, how to get a skill that you can take and transform into generation building wealth building for generations. You're thinking about how to make sure that your kids get a good education. You're thinking about how to just get from day to day.
Absolutely.
Nobody is talking about lifting these communities out of poverty, helping people get from one place to another. Augusta has about a 24% poverty rate, which means we have
Wow.
about 50,000 people living in
We're
poverty
at
in the city.
24%?
24%.
How does that compare to our surrounding neighboring cities?
Well, Augusta is always going to be a little bit higher. Our numbers will always be just a little higher because we are the center of the region. But if you go out, I mean, the rural counties are experiencing high numbers compared to what their populations are.
Sure.
So the idea here is, if Augusta doesn't address poverty, and if Augusta doesn't grow, the region won't grow.
That's right.
So you ask, how do we get young people involved in government? You have to meet folks where they are, and you have to make sure that you carve out a space for them to be active. And it's going to start with elected officials. It's going to start with organizations.
Right.
We cannot be afraid to empower people, because when you empower people, you empower your community.
Right.
So what I tell young people is, if there's an issue that you really care about, you have to get involved. You have to call a commissioner. You have to reach out to your mayor. And if that person doesn't help you, if they can't communicate with you why they can't help you, or if you don't see change, then you need to step up and be that change.
Makes sense.
But we get into our own bubbles because we have other things going on. But our situation won't change until we link up with each other to try to change those
I
situations.
believe that.
I think that's where we are right now as a community. We have to stand up.
So, I have to segue into this question. We're gonna get off of local just for a little bit.
Okay. Because I will go off on that.
So as a
Real quick, can I ask this question?
Absolutely, absolutely.
What is going on with the Olive Road Bridge, man?
So
It's unstoppable.
I say
It's
this.
unstoppable.
I want
Like Thanos.
I want a love as strong as that bridge. I want a bank account as strong as that bridge. I want I want that kind
Well,
of strength.
generational wealth
Let me
as
tell
strong
you
as that
something.
bridge.
That bridge has lasted the test of time.
Undefeated.
Here's what's going on with the bridge. So the Olive Road Bridge is in my district. So like I said, I have all the cool stuff, even the Olive Road Bridge.
Well, that never fail, right?
Man, I thought about just like branding that whole side of town with that bridge. That's like the logo. But the city of Augusta doesn't control it. We don't control any of the railroads in town.
Really?
None, not even one.
Wow.
The
So
federal
is that
government does.
that's okay?
Federal government.
Gotcha.
But the company is responsible for the bridge. And what we've talked about was raising the bridge. We've talked about going with talking to the company about deepening the road. Of course, the city will have to work on that. We put hundreds of thousands of dollars into lights and safety beacons and speed
Don't
humps and
matter.
stop signs.
Don't matter. Don't matter.
I hate to say this.
We're gonna ignore that. We're just gonna keep on trucking.
I hate to say it. It literally. I don't think it's going to change. I just don't think this is going to change.
Right.
We had an opportunity, which we were discussing briefly, about closing the bridge off and cutting the road around it, but that's unrealistic as well, because you have neighborhoods on that main road that has to use that road to get back and forth. Like there's a hospital up the street.
that
There's
really jacks a
stores.
few things up. Yeah.
People just have to read.
Right. Yeah.
And then here's the thing: we've even gone so far. This is something else I had mentioned.
Uh-huh.
We've even gone so far as to adjusting the local GPS system. So if you're using your GPS, it has literally taken that much effort.
Wow.
If you're using your GPS, it will reroute you around the bridge.
Oh my God.
Nothing is working.
I'm gonna keep going. Reroute.
I'm like,
Oh, we going through.
I hope you can hear my frustration. So I don't know.
There's something about that bridge that's just a
And you know
magnet.
what? It's not
a-
as bad as the haunted pillar back in the day,
haunted
which
pillar,
somebody
yeah.
finally took that
I've never
out.
heard of that.
You ever heard of the haunted pillar?
No, what's that?
So the haunted pillar, the legend was down on 8th Street, there was a pillar that stood, and it was the last remaining piece of a slave auction,
Oh,
of an auction market. And a preacher from out of town came in and he cursed the market.
Yeah.
And a tornado came in or something and it knocked the market
oh
down.
wow, I've never heard of this.
But if you ever touched that pillar, you would either haunted or
Yeah.
you would die.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And so those are urban legends. And no one had the guts to go touch that pillar.
I think it was in front of it was like the water source or something like that. And it was
Yep.
right in front of
Oh.
it. It looked like an eye source.
I know
Why
what
is
the
it
water
here?
source is, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
right at the corner of water source.
Okay.
But it's gone now. Somebody hit it and it's
And-
gone.
Did the person live?
I don't know. I didn't check. But I wasn't
Receive
gonna
some
be the
type of special
person to go out
powers or
there.
something?
We need to follow up and see. But that pillar
Oh,
was
man.
yeah. There's nothing you can do about that either.
So as a politician, I have to ask you this. How do you feel about the ban on TikTok? Can you
So-
take it or leave it, or is whatever with you?
I can see why. The government is choosing to do this.
Okay, okay.
I'm on TikTok. I love TikTok.
Okay.
And I'm not leaving TikTok.
All right.
But I understand what's going on.
Okay.
You have a Chinese company
Okay.
who, has complete access to all of our data through that service.
Okay.
And it's unchecked. Again, we're talking about unchecked balance, it's unchecked power. And so, from the government's perspective,
Yes, sir.
I believe that they're trying to, protect our interests through data and things like that, regulate TikTok like they've done Facebook and other things. They want to protect our data. If you go on TikTok right now, you type in Biden, nothing positive is going to come up.
Okay.
Type in Trump, you're going to get a lot of pro-Trump stuff on there. So what they do is they take the data, and they want to interfere in our elections, and they want to persuade the American voter or the American person on how to think. It's propaganda. It's
Right.
communist propaganda.
Right.
Same type of strategies and techniques that they used back in the day. So I get that. I
Yes,
get
sir.
it. But what I also say is, and we were talking about this offline, that we've been begging for access to healthcare for decades. We've been begging for, dollars to rebuild communities for decades. We've been begging for anti-poverty legislation. We've been begging for, public education to be fully funded.
Right.
And we haven't gotten anything but, some kneeling and, a couple holidays.
That's right.
Which are important.
Yes, sir.
But we were able to ban TikTok.
Yeah.
So I get it. I get the frustration that, young folks like myself and probably younger are feeling like we can't afford to buy a house, but we can spend
Ban
time banning
TikTok.
TikTok. But I want folks to understand that it's probably for the best that the government does get involved with trying to protect our interests from
Understood.
outside forces. But if we can band together on something like that, or band together on war aid, we should be able to band together just like that on issues that impacts us right here at home.
Right.
Everyday issues like infrastructure and housing and, just helping people live better lives.
Right.
I think and that goes even back to the question that we just finished talking about. Young people get involved. That's why they don't. So
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. But yeah, I kind of understand why we want to go down that path. But I do think we have bigger fish to fry right now.
If the government does take over TikTok, if the TikTok owner decides to divest and they allow the government, that ownership basically says that now that the government has some type of right to regulate the amount of information that's posed about them, or for them or against them. So basically what you're saying is that's what the government does with all the other social media platforms.
They
They
accept
make
it.
sure they keep things balanced where it's not 100% pro-Trump and then Biden is getting trashed. Okay.
Right.
I
I
get
mean,
that.
I guess that's what they attempt to do.
Right.
Because even after the 2020 election, Facebook was doing fact checking. Like if you put something on
Oh,
Facebook
absolutely.
that
Yeah.
went against fact, you were blocked. If you
Yeah.
were cyberbullying, you were blocked. So there were more protections put in place against half truths and things like that. But that even poses the question about your freedom of speech, your right to say what you want to say.
Right.
I mean, I think that's just a consequence of social media.
Oh, absolutely.
Can you really get a handle on that? And again, I get it, I understand, but the person, like I said, in Harrisburg, who you know, just trying to make ends meet.
Right.
They don't care about that. They want
Right.
to figure out how their lives can improve.
Absolutely.
Let's focus on what matters.
Well, going to the next question, what's your assessment of our President Joe Biden? Because we have a lot of, all of a sudden, you know, young people that's not happy with Joe Biden. And we have also a lot in our community that are kind of tipping over to the Trump wing. And they're saying it mainly because of what we're in right now with inflation, you know, prices being high. I mean, me and my wife, we go grocery shopping, and even since we've been together, we've seen, you know, prices just got high. So right now there's a lot of dissatisfaction. But what's your take on President Joe Biden?
I support President Biden.
Okay.
I support President Biden because I understand how slow government works, but I also understand that he inherited probably the residuals of one of the worst presidencies in modern history. I think that Donald Trump was a complete disaster for this country. Our lives did not improve under the Trump administration. We only got about $1,000 or so from him, and that was it. You know,
Right.
I think that 4 years is nowhere near enough time to turn around the 4 years of mess that Donald Trump created for this country.
Right.
If you look at his cabinet secretaries and the people that he had around him, they were all telling us, like, this guy does not have the wherewithal to be president of the United States.
He lost a lot of association, a
His
lot
vice
of cabinet.
president, his secretary of the UN.
Right.
I mean, the people who he entrusted to advise him,
The best and the brightest
the
and the
best and the
smartest.
brightest and the smartest, the people that he said were unsinkable, right?
Right.
Have come out and said that it was a disaster working for him. So if you have somebody like that at the helm of your government, they're going to cause confusion. They're going to cause issues. They're going to distract from what really matters, which is why we're dealing with inflation, because his economic policies helping those at the top get richer and richer, while the people at the bottom just kind of, you know, beg for scraps, and then eliminate the middle altogether, has caused our economy to take a dive. It's going to cause a market crash within the next 10 years. Donald Trump was not what we needed. And, you know, if we're mad at Joe Biden for, and I don't want to say mad in the sense of just being antagonistic, but if we are frustrated with this administration, I understand, I get it.
Yes, sir.
But I do believe that the policies of the Biden-Harris administration have been progressively better for all of America, looking at it from a bird's eye view.
Okay.
Look at what we've done for senior citizens and capping the cost of prescription drugs. Look at the work that he has done with investing billions of dollars into the inner cities.
Right.
You look at places like Atlanta, where those communities of color were split in half with the interstates being built. Even like in Augusta, like those federal dollars coming from the Biden-Harris administration is going to put those communities back together.
Right.
We have millions of dollars invested in Augusta through the Biden-Harris administration to help us build our job market. We received $84 million from the Biden-Harris administration to just fix infrastructure and address communities that were impacted by COVID. I think the first 4 years of President Biden's administration has simply been to get us caught up.
Right. Right.
It's to get us caught up. Sort of what I'm saying about my district. You know, people can use the argument and say, well, we still see blighted houses in our community. Yes, you do still see blighted houses in my district. But we knocked down 432.
Much less.
Absolutely. 432 has come down in 4 years.
That's right.
We got about 300 more to go.
That's right.
That's because, you know, years prior, the work
takes
wasn't
time.
getting done.
It takes time. Right.
So you have to give the president an opportunity to actually work. Congress plays a big role in this as well. Who you vote for on the local will determine who you vote for on the national level. So I support President Biden. I support Vice President Harris. I've spoken to both of them about Augusta.
Okay.
When I was on the campaign trail, I had a conversation with Vice President Harris. You know,
You told her cut them checks, man.
Hey,
we
no.
need to cut them checks, Harris.
I basically just told her that Augusta is in motion, you know?
Yeah.
And President Biden, the same thing. So again, I think that we're moving in the right direction, but folks got to give them a chance.
Okay, all right, that's fair. And you did speak about, Augusta, receiving money from the federal government. just now. Do you think we're receiving enough support? I know this old saying like this. There's never too much money.
Never too much.
Never too much money,
yeah.
but is it adequate comparing from administration to administration?
Oh, I think the money we've gotten from the Biden administration has just been generational.
Right.
We will never see $84 million come into this community from the White House ever again. And
wow.
I hope I'm wrong.
Right.
I pray that I'm wrong. Out of that $84 million, we were able to put $2 million into our small businesses. And not just small businesses, but minority-owned businesses.
Awesome.
We put $500,000 into that program, and it was flipped into $1 million plus, $2 million plus. Like small businesses that are owned by people who look like us benefited from the dollars that Joe Biden sent to Augusta.
Awesome.
Boykin Road Park, that money came from Senator Ossoff, which I'm proud of. We're able to now get Boykin Road Park taken care of. That'll happen sometime later this year. We were able to take money and create our Rocky Creek program, which is another infrastructure project
Okay.
out in South Augusta behind Regency Mall in that area.
Good.
It floods terribly back there when it rains.
Oh, wow.
So federal money is going back there to clean that up. So I think that is better. We're getting
sir.
better. Money is going to all kinds of stuff from the White House, but we have to keep that going. And I
Gotcha.
think Trump, when he was in office, cut that out. Local governments could not get money,
Yeah.
but Biden reinstated it.
It kind of seems to me, and I'm not, I am going to be 52 this year.
Mm-hmm.
I know I don't look it right.
And you don't look at all.
So,
You drink the water, that's what it is, right?
the coconut oil in the
There you
water.
go.
But, so I'm not saying that I'm very politically savvy, but it seems like when the Republicans are in office, it seems as though a lot of red tape is cut for even, smaller businesses and big businesses alike. And then it seems like when we have the Democrats, come into office, those are more social justice type programs. We're looking out for, the aids of, the low income
Right.
and the poverty and everything. But a lot of people will argue, like, I'll give it an example. The first 2 years Donald Trump was in office, I was working at a no said dealership at the time because I ain't giving them no marketing. But I was working at a dealership. My 401k was really exploding until COVID hit. Once COVID hit, things did go kind of south. Obviously, all investments went south. But it seems like when the Republicans are in, some people will argue that they cut a lot of red tapes, and it seems like that with that red tape being cut, of course it can be unchecked, but it seems like the money does flow. Now, how would you argue on that as far as when the Democrat seems to take place, that taxes get a little higher? Because a good example for me would be just last week, President Biden said that there was going to be a capital gains on someone that had $400,000 investments up into like $1 million. If that was happening, then they was going to take a 44% capital gains tax hike. So with a situation like that, someone could have $400,000 invested, like in the market, index funds or whatever. And if they decided to take that out, they're going to get hit with that 44%. So that's the sort of thing that people are getting a little frustrated when it comes to like a Democratic president. So what would you have to say against something like that?
I think the big thing is that our tax system is flawed.
Okay.
It's very ill structured. And regardless if the Democrats or the Republicans are in control, the 1% at the top will always benefit. The trickle-down economics of the 80s,
Yeah, that Ronald Reagan.
the Reaganomics, that's another disastrous president. And I'm not going to get any Republican votes after this interview. But
Oh, for him, he's a good guy. He's a good guy.
my stepdad loved Ronald Reagan. He had a picture of George Bush above his mantle. So I grew up listening to all of the Republican go behind,
Right.
He would pick me up from school and Rush Limbaugh will be on the radio. And I'm like, that's probably why I'm a Democrat today. But I would say this, the tax system is flawed.
Okay.
The 1% will always benefit.
Okay.
There was a time where, you didn't have to worry about what you just explained because taxation was being used to build America.
Right.
But I heard somebody say the other day, and it just it just got me. He said, I think it was Deion Sanders or someone. It was a book I was listening to, and it basically said that an object in motion remains in motion, and they use that in the sense of the economy.
Right.
If you're a millionaire and you're constantly doing things to build your fortune, of course you're just going to get richer. That's why the rich get rich.
Right.
You can influence the government to help you get rich. But if you're poor, an object at rest stays at rest because you don't have the inertia. You don't have that force to help you move forward.
Right.
And I think that's what you see here. When you have Democrats in office and taxation happens, I look at it like from the local perspective. If Augusta wants to be a Charlotte, North Carolina, or want to be in Atlanta or whatever, Augusta has to pay into the pot. Right. But to keep your taxes low, you have to also understand that you might not be able to get some of the things that other people get. So all these promises that the president makes and all these programs that the president tries to create,
It costs money.
it costs money.
Yeah.
Protecting Social Security costs money. Investing in roads and bridges costs money. But here's my thought: if you're paying that tax into the government, and for some reason your area just builds, you're a business owner and the area around you builds,
Right.
or you're just a middle class family and your city just explodes. Who's to say that the job market doesn't explode? Who's to say that those opportunities won't allow your finances or your personal situation to explode as well, thus giving you more money to spend, which creates this cycle of wealth distribution.
Right.
And I think that's where we want to go, but I just believe that we are a ways off from seeing any of that type of equality where economics and taxes are concerned. But I don't think that either party has much to say when it comes to that, because when Republicans freeze taxes, they're not doing it for us.
That's right.
They're doing it for their buddies.
That's true.
You know,
Yeah.
when Democrats freeze it, it's frozen for us.
Right.
We get child tax credits. We get those types of expanded income tax credits. Not when Republicans are in office.
That's true.
So,
Excuse me, guys. I'm going to say this real quick. I see that you guys have posted a couple of questions.
Okay, good.
We'll try to get to those right after we're done with our last one over here.
Oh, cool. We only got two
just
more
want
to
to let
go.
you guys know I see them and just give us a minute.
thank you.
All right.
Looking forward to that.
So, what's your outlook for 2024 election? Not only local, but federal as well.
Well, I'm going to beat the street for Joe Biden.
Okay.
I will
All right.
knock on as many doors as I can for President Biden.
Okay.
I've just signed, the Democratic Party here in Richmond County have just signed an agreement with the campaign to open up an office for President Biden here in Augusta. We're going to do everything we can to re-elect Joe Biden
Okay.
to serve as President of the United States.
All right.
Because I believe in Joe Biden.
Right.
I don't think that he's perfect. I don't think that he is, everything that
Definitely ain't suave.
well, he ain't Barack Obama, He's not Barack Obama. I also think that his age is not a big issue,
Okay.
He's so old,
So,
I get it.
cognitive, you think
I think he's there.
he's there cognitive?
I think he's there.
Yeah. I think some days.
He has some delays,
I think that, I think there are some days, I can't even imagine the job of a president,
No.
Only thing I ever did in leadership was I was a hospitality, food service manager, general manager. But I think of myself as, if I was president, man, I'd probably be, all this would be great,
There are days
So
when I'm not there cognitively.
Yeah.
That's
It's
days
a
when
lot
I'm
thrown
running-
at you.
Yeah, I want to take a nap too. There are days when I don't feel like it. So an 80-something-year-old man,
Yeah.
I'm sure he has his challenges.
Absolutely.
But that 80-something-year-old man has win after win after win where our communities are concerned, and we're not feeling it directly. But I'm telling you, we see it in this city.
Okay.
That's why you got to get your local officials engaged so that the wins that Joe Biden sends to the state and sends to the local, we put them to use for what the people want them to be used for.
Okay.
Those results from that 80-something-year-old man, let's keep going.
Okay.
So
All right.
we're going to support Joe Biden and any other person who's running that's really trying to impact change in our communities. I think we have to.
Okay. How's the election look out for local for you here and everything? What's your outlook on Augusta's elections coming up?
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting. I intend to be reelected.
You will be.
Thank you.
Yep,
Thank
yep.
you. I pray-
Elect this man. You in Augusta?
you.
Elect this young man.
Thank you. I'm doing my very best. I believe that we made some great progress in this community. one of the biggest things I'm proud of outside of the infrastructure work and the housing work that we're doing. I took the fight to landlords across slumlords across Richmond County.
Good.
So many people living in homes that are not of quality, and they reached out, they called. We addressed that, and my district has been a fruit desert for the past 13 years, and I'm proud that we signed an MOU with a grocer last year, December of last year, to actually open up a grocery store in the middle of Laney Walker Boulevard.
Good.
That's the kind of change that we need to see.
Right.
We are moving very quickly on revitalizing the Regency Mall site. That's change that you can actually see and move
we need to do
forward
something with that. Yeah.
You know, the entertainment district conversation for the riverfront in downtown Augusta, we got to continue that. And we passed the blight ordinance to get rid of some of these dilapidated buildings, especially in downtown.
Yes, sir.
I think the work has begun. It's a day late and a dollar short.
Yes, sir.
But we still have an opportunity to deepen the roots, like to continue digging ourselves towards this future that we know that Augusta has. We always talk about the potential of the city. We have to make sure that the potential becomes a reality.
Right.
But you don't get there without a plan. So I hope that whoever gets elected, whether that's, the DA, the sheriff, the marshal, the judges, the commission, we all work together so that we can push Augusta forward. And I believe that the leadership that you have now in the city understands that. And we just have to continue to stay focused.
Awesome.
So 24, I think, is going to be a good year for the city of Augusta.
Awesome.
Nice.
And I have one last question before we get to our comments with questions here. What does the political future for Mr. Commissioner Jordan looks like in the future? Somebody told me you want to be president of the United States. That's what my daughter's told me.
That's what your daughter said?
Yeah, that's what they said. You want to be president.
I have faith.
President Johnson.
100%.
President Johnson.
That sounds good. I don't know.
Don't be modest, man. Come on.
I'm being honest. I don't know.
Okay.
There are days when I just want to go to the lake and not have to worry about going to a commission meeting.
I feel like that every day when I have to get up.
You know what I mean? But I think the work is worth it. I think the things that we're doing is worth it. So I don't know where this stuff is going to land me. I'm not really even thinking that far along the line.
Right.
I want to do the best job that I can while I'm a commissioner. And then we'll see what happens from there. But I'm just trying to make it to next Tuesday, which is when our commission meetings are. And next Tuesday after that. Whatever happens after that, it'll be in God's hands.
Hey,
I don't know, brother.
My man.
Thank you, man.
We're going to push him all the way up. As long as he in there, we're going to keep pushing him.
Oh, man. Thank you, brother.
All right, so we're going to get some of the questions we got in the comments
Questions here.
All right, let me scroll up a little bit.
Okay.
Oh, scroll up. Oh, man.
So,
we about to put you on the hot seat, brother.
Let's do it.
All right, so Allison Fields is asking.
Allison.
She says, I'm not sure if this was spoke on yet, but are there any plans for removing, I'm going to butcher this, dilapidated homes, and buildings? A lot of crime happens in them. I would love to see more new homes and community centers.
Yeah. So in 2021, when I took office, Commissioner Bobby Williams was already working on a blight ordinance. And basically what that ordinance does is it holds the owners of those properties accountable to either, use the pot or get off of it. Certain times what you see is that people will have these properties and they'll sit on them and they'll wait for the market to explode so they can get the most out of that money. But it just doesn't happen. Or you have a situation where grandma owns the house, she's passed away, the kids are living somewhere else and they don't want it. And so it just sits there.
Mm-hmm.
So our ordinance put the responsibility back on the hands of the owners, and it incentivized the development of those properties. Since we passed the ordinance, we've knocked down 432 properties. There's about 300 more properties that we have to demolish, and it's going to take at least about $1 million or $2 million extra dollars just to catch us up. But we cut the budget last year. I was adamantly against cutting the budget, and some of my colleagues went on and voted to cut the budget. But my goal is to fully fund the demolition program so that we're not having to drive by blighted property after blighted property.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a couple of row of houses on Sibley Street that I was instrumental in knocking down, and a few in the Laney Walker neighborhood, a few in Sand Hills. So the biggest thing is if you see property like that, you have to report it to 311. When you report it to 311, get your case number, and then call your commissioner and say, Commissioner Johnson or whoever, my name is Allison. I just called this in. The work number is such and such and such and such. Can you check on it for me? That commissioner would then call it in, and that property becomes priority. And that's literally how I've been able to get
Wow.
the majority of those houses in my district demolished. And if they're still standing, I guarantee you they either have a work order on it, they have a demo order on it, or they have a court date assigned to them so that the judge can order demolition. There are very few properties in this community that are blighted that has not been at least inspected and assigned some type of action. But things slow down. So you have to engage your commissioner, and you have to make sure that we follow through with that commitment. So if you send me to my inbox the property that you have in question, and I'll even say this, Allison, if you ride around and you write down as many as you can find, send them to me. Send them to me, and I'll go ahead and get the process moving.
Awesome.
Nice. All right, let me get to our next one here.
Okay.
And this is from Andre. Hey, Andre.
Hey, Andre.
Andre.
And he's asking what is being done to attract more employers and increasing economic opportunity for young professionals.
Great question. So we work very closely with our Economic Development Authority here in Augusta, and they work all across this country, all across the United States and beyond, to recruit industries and corporations to come to Augusta and to offer high-paying jobs. But one thing that I've always found to be concerning was that, say a big car manufacturing company wants to open up in Augusta. Great. Chances are they're going to bring employees with them, because the workforce in Augusta has to be trained to be able to take on those high-paying jobs. And so I'm proud that, Dr. World over at Augusta Tech is offering like classes at no cost so that you can learn skills to get these jobs. I'm proud of the work that is happening at Payne College in communications and in those fields to make sure that you can get those jobs. What the AU is doing in the medical is good stuff. But I think that the city of Augusta should be investing more dollars and being a better partner with some of these agencies so that we have a front row seat in investing in our own workforce. We passed the $15 minimum wage across the city 3 years ago. Like, that matters. But $15 3 years ago is $25 today, is $30 today.
That's right.
So partnering with these colleges and other organizations to help folks get work ready is the first step. But the city needs to explore ways that we can utilize our parks, utilize our recreational centers to actually lift communities out. And I said this way, I always say this: if you teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime, right? But if he doesn't have access to the pond, he doesn't have access to the fish.
That's right.
So these types of programs that we're talking about gives people access to lift themselves up. People say, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Well, how if I don't even have a pair of boots?
That's right.
That's what we need to be doing more of, looking into programs like that. And so I'm always open for suggestions as well.
Nice.
Good.
And so another one that Andre asked is, where is our taxes going? It's easier to stomach when there's something tangible to see, or at least in my opinion. So I want to know where everything is going.
Everywhere. Everywhere. They're going everywhere. I tell you where they're not going. It's not going to some of the silly stuff that people say on the news. Like, we're not spending tax dollars to go on vacation.
Good.
And say, well, these tax dollars are going into the commissioner's pockets. We don't see this money. We decide where that money goes. So you're looking at infrastructure work through stormwater. Nobody likes a stormwater fee. But if it rains and your drain gets clogged, we're going to send a truck out to clear that up. We're going to pay stormwater. We're going to use stormwater money to clean it up. If a right of way needs to be cut, stormwater money can cut that area. The Riverwalk, downtown Augusta, there's getting ready to be, or there's already a infrastructure project happening from East Boundary to 13th Street that's going to completely transform downtown Augusta. That's tax dollars. Tearing down houses, tax dollars. Building houses, tax dollars. Helping our homeless, tax dollars. The money that you give to this government are spent on projects and programs that can help people, and not only just help people, but can grow your city. When we do this entertainment district and we get downtown booming and moving, we're going to put $14 million right on the river. That's $14 million worth of tax money. So, you know, what I tell people is if you have a specific idea as to what you want to see happen in the city, you've got to reach out to a commissioner. You've got to do it. Because we can create projects and programs, we can get other commissioners to support it, and in those dollars that's just sitting there, we can apply to doing something big.
Awesome.
So, I'm telling you, we're not going to Disney World with tax. It's just not happening.
Well, that was our last question. I got Yvette saying that you're going to be the governor of Georgia.
That's right.
I think I know which Yvette you're talking about. And I love you. Thank you so much for that. She's been telling me that since I was in 3rd grade.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Well, Mr. Jordan, we really, really appreciate you taking the time to come out.
Thank you.
And this has really been enlightening. I think a lot of people have been educated. I have. Didn't really know what, the solid role of a commissioner was, talking to one-on-one. So this means a lot to our audience.
Thank you.
And everybody that's out there, that's in the Augusta area, please vote for this man. I can vouch. He's good. He stands behind everything. He's got a clean record. That means a lot.
Thank you.
It means a
Right.
lot.
Thank you.
And I can vouch for him as well. I was a couple of college courses with this man, and I told him then, I was like, I see you in office, sir. And
That's
look
right.
at him. Look
Thank
at where
you.
he's at. So
Thank you so much.
same person, same personality. Vote for somebody genuine.
That's right.
Y'all too sweet. Y'all way too kind. Like, thank y'all so much. I appreciate
You
it.
start messing up, we'll let you know. But you ain't messing
And I need that. I need that. Thank y'all so much. It's been a pleasure.
All right, Onyx family. Peace, love, and happiness.
Thank y'all.